and let's get started. Let's first off, as I said, talk about the mind. What is the mind? The standard definition, the dictionary definition, simply says it's the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experiences. It's an element of a person to be aware of the world and their experiences, to think and to feel. The faculty of consciousness and thought. It sounds very important. It sounds very, very important. A wonderful element of a person. Brilliant. So that's what the mind is. And today, as we think about this, I've got some leading questions that we want to ask. And these can be the backdrop to your processing of this information today. So are we what we think about? Are we what we think about? Do your thoughts really create your reality? Is there a link between your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors? And do your thought patterns reinforce your beliefs? Would it help if I threw those things into the chat box? I think it might, just because... oh, Ricky's already started. Well done, Rick. I'll put them in the chat box anyway, just so that we understand the context of what we're talking about. We've heard so many great speakers, teachers talk about the mind. You know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. In his mind, so is he. The mind is an important element of a person. But how much control do we have over the mind, and how much control does the mind have over us? What's really taking place here? And is there a way that we can quiet it, or is it left to its own devices to do what it wants? So are we what we think about? Is that really true? The mind is driven by the information surrounding us. I want to give you an acronym. And today's acronym is called AIT, as in the past tense of eating or eaten. And A stands for attention. Attention. What is grabbing your attention? Because your attention is the power source for your thoughts. What are you consuming? What grabs your attention? Never said what you're thinking about. What just gets you into that space where it has your attention? Every teacher I know at school says, pay attention. Pay attention. What's grabbing your attention? I want you to think about that for a minute, because that's your power source to your thoughts. It's what your thoughts, it's like currency. Electrical current. It's your currency. It's what lightens up it, what gives power and energy to your thoughts. It's the things you pay attention to. So thoughts in themselves can be very neutral, very abstract. They can just run around, hovering around. As I've said a number of times, there's approximately 80,000 thoughts running through most people's mind every single day. 80,000. Some of them have got nothing to do with what you're currently doing. You could be digging plant pots in the garden and digging, doing whatever you're doing, and your mind or your thoughts are just on something so far away from what you need to be paying attention to. So these thoughts just run around, circulating through your mind. And they are powerless unless you pay attention to them. Okay? So, for example, I can say to you, let us flow in our minds right now. Can anyone remember their first day at primary school? Yeah? Can all remember that? Or your first week, what it was like? Can anyone remember their first school meal? I know mine was disgusting. It was horrible. I remember that. It was almost as if there were stones in the vegetables. It was disgusting. Coming from a family whose mother could cook, it was quite terrible. But I'm doing something here. I'm asking you to just travel with me to those events. Can you remember the first time you were shouted at and how it made you feel? Can you remember, if you've ever done this, if you've had your first kiss? Can you remember when someone you cherished got ill? Can you remember the first time when you were ill? These are all things that have been embedded into our memory. And sometimes whilst we're digging holes in our garden to plant pots, these thoughts flood our mind, memories. And we've talked about memories and where they're located in our brains, and what parts of our brain stimulates memories. And sometimes those memories can be traumatic and they have an influence on our behavior. But more importantly, whilst these thoughts are just circulating and hovering through your mind and just running around, remember this: it's the ones you pay attention to that lightens you up. It gets your attention. You start to process your thinking about what you're paying attention to. Does that make sense? The question is, what does your mind interpret from the things that it's consuming? That's where this thing gets exciting. What does your mind interpret as a result of the thing you've decided to pay attention to? What's that flow? What's that filtration process like for you? Because it could be completely different for me. So what happens to you? So A is attention, T is thoughts, and E is emotions. How do we feel about the things we're thinking about? The things that got our attention, we've started to think about it. What do you interpret as a result of the things you're thinking about? Now we move on to the E. How do you feel about it? What starts to occur? What starts to take place in you as a result of what you're thinking, which then makes you start to feel? So thoughts, back to thoughts. Thoughts are like a menu in a restaurant. There's a lot there. but you select the one you want to experience. You select the item, the recipe, the dish that you want to experience. And it's the same with our thoughts. The menu of thoughts are just flurrying around in our minds. But what are you selecting? And why? Why? Interesting. So emotions, here's a lovely concept for you. Emotions are intensifiers of thoughts. And they are literally generated as a result of what you're thinking about. So here's a question for you, powerful question. Is it all about having happy emotions, or is it about having happy thoughts? Because your thoughts drive your emotions. Interesting, right? Here's another way of putting it. Emotions allow you to feel what you're thinking. Ooh. Emotions allow you to feel what you're thinking. To be honest with you, it's not the other way around. It's not a feeling that just jumps up and then you have a thought about something. Feelings follow thoughts. Feelings follow thoughts. Say that with me. Feelings follow thoughts. If I am feeling a particular way, it's because I am thinking a particular way. So let's go back through that chain. You have to control your thoughts by what you're paying attention to. You control your feelings by what you're thinking about. ATE. Attention, thoughts, emotions. I'm going to say that last bit again. You control your thoughts by what you pay attention to. And you control your emotions by what you think about. So that is my backdrop to today's session. I want to open this up. I want us to really be fluid in discussion. Great to see Wayne, all the way from sunny South Africa. I'm still jealous. Great to have you in the cafe, Wayne. Does that make sense what I've said today? Those 3 key stages of the 8. So it's okay for someone to quickly say, as a man thinketh in his heart, that's what he is. But there's something that happens before the thinking. What's grabbing your attention? And why? Are you predisposed to that behavior? Is it an environmental thing? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a family thing? Is it an upbringing thing? What's grabbing your attention today? And why? Now, this is where you have power. You can decide what you pay, you're actually contributing to what you pay attention to. There's a cost associated to it. What are you consuming? And why does that thing grab your attention whilst it might not grab mine? Or why is the things grabbing my attention where you have absolutely no interest in? What's going on here? What's grabbing your attention during lockdown? We talked about mental contrast in these sessions. We talked about optimistic realism. Is your future grabbing your attention? Or is the failure of your past grabbing your attention? Because you will start to think about the very thing that has your attention. And as I said earlier, your emotions get intensified by the things you're thinking about. I want to have that conversation this morning. And so we can try and figure out whether our thoughts are controlling us in a good way or in a bad way. Where are we? Why are we in the way we are? If you map it and you track it, you might be able to find out exactly why you're wired the way you are.